celebrating the power of possibility.
I'm Harry Boston, and I believe anything is possible.
Welcome to Anything is Possible. I'm Halloran Hilton Hill. It is such an honor to be with you again. These are great stories about great people whose lives prove that anything is possible. I've been doing this show for quite a while, and what I love is just sitting in front of great people and learning. I have never been let down when somebody says to me, you got to meet ... For the last several years, all sorts of people have been saying, have you met Harry Boston? I'm like, I think I've you got to meet Harry Boston. And this came to me over and over again. And then we were at an event, and our dear friend Stephen Davis said, wait a minute, here he is, and connected us. And so I am so happy to have you here today.
Well, I feel exactly the same way. So it was so nice meeting you finally, and this should be fun.
Harry, where'd you grow up?
Well, I was born in Brooklyn, New York, and then grew up largely on Long Island.
What was that like?
Interesting. It was interesting times. It was a real change from being in the city, in a nice part of Brooklyn, but then going out to Long Island and being in a mostly white town and dealing with that growing up back in the 60s.
Tell me about your parents and what took you to Long Island.
Yeah, my father was a dentist. Mother was primarily a homemaker. So my father, he was born in South Carolina and got himself through Howard. And so he graduated from Howard in the 40s and started his dental practice not long after. So he was,
what did he run into?
Well, probably
moving
everything.
Into Long Island, because that was a...
Yeah, it probably was a lot more before that, but moving to Long Island was an interesting place. It was a nice community. Of course, there was racism, there were petitions. We don't want these folks in this community and this and that. And I always tell people, light-skinned as I am, when you're the only one, you get to experience firsthand what it's like. So I've been there. I've been there and experienced it. But
is it kind of like light-skinned black? If you're the only black, you're as dark as it's ever going to be.
No, that's right. You're 100%. Yeah, that's it. That's how you get to deal with it. But it's interesting. It just made it part of an interesting journey.
So you're growing up in Long Island. Where'd you go to school?
A place called Syosset, little town, Long Island. Yeah.
What kind of student were you?
Oh, I should tell you. Yeah, I was a terrible student. I was. Here's my father who graduated top of the class at Howard University. My grandfather was a dentist, graduated from Meharry in 1909. Wow. So yeah, you're right. So I come from a line of distinguished. No, I was not distinguished. I was indistinguishable. But I had no idea what I wanted to do.
You hadn't imagined a possibility?
No, not at all. Not at all.
Really?
Matter of fact, I went to, when I interviewed for college, I talked to this dean, and he said, what do you want to do? I said, well, I want to be a wildlife biologist. And I said, okay. He said, well, tell me, did you grow up in the country? I said, no, not really, no. Well, do you hike and camp a lot? Well, no. Well, why do you want to be a wildlife biologist, son? I said, I like to watch those Wild Kingdom type shows. You got guys in khaki clothes and Jeeps, and nobody I knew rode around in a Jeep in khaki clothes. And it was like, okay, I can do this. Now, it turns out I never took a class in wildlife biology, but it was that crazy. It's just my whole life has been sort of that crazy. I was going to say, I've been a teacher and a scientist and a manager. I've been an executive with the government. I've been an executive with industry. I've started my own company. And who would have guessed? Who would have guessed? There was no plan. It was just taking advantage of opportunities that were in front of me. Some kids know exactly what they want. When I came to forks in the road, I took them.
So what did you land on in college?
Oh, good. I ended up getting interested in water chemistry, so I really became somewhat of a water chemist.
What is a water chemist?
Good. I have a degree in plant physiology, but when I came down here in 1985 to the Oak Ridge National Laboratory as a biogeochemist, which no one knows what that means, we were studying acid rain. So as the acid rain falls on the ground, chemistry changes as it goes into streams and rivers, and that changes the impact it has on the environment. So I was studying the movement of materials through the environment and how aquatic systems affect water quality and affect the aquatic life. And then when the Department of Energy got interested in cleaning up the Oak Ridge site and chasing radionuclides, I remember they asked me,
I gotta stop you right here.
Yeah.
I gotta stop you right here. You know I'm gonna stop you right
That's
here,
okay,
right?
that's
Let me
okay.
tell you why.
Yeah.
Your cover's blown.
What is that?
Oh shucks, I'm not the smart one in the family.
No,
I'm not.
Dude, you know
Are
me,
you
brother.
listening to yourself
No,
right
it's just
now?
all by happenstance. All by happenstance.
You don't become this kind of a brain by happenstance, but I'll let you continue the story.
I am fortunate.
You're water
chemist.
Water chemist.
Right.
You're at Oak Ridge. You're studying acid rain.
Right.
I'll let you pick up. I just want you
That's
to know,
okay.
my dear friend, your cover
well,
is
I'm going to
blown.
challenge you before we're done. I've had the fortune of working with brilliant people. I'm a good integrator. I'm good at bringing things together and bringing people together and developing solutions. I think that's really been my talent. But to get back to our story, we're chasing materials through the environment, aluminum and things that affected aquatic life. And they asked me, could I help them find where the radionuclides were coming, the radioactive contamination?
What is a radionuclide?
Good. Radioactive elements, when we talk about the radioactive materials having to do with like strontium-90 or cesium-137, so they're elements that are not stable, elements that decay and give off materials, either give off radiation or particles that could concern us, that could be health problems. And that's why we're concerned with radioactive waste and radioactive contamination. And so they asked me, could I chase these things and find them in the environment and help them cut them off? I said, yeah, it's easy to find them because they're radioactive. It's a lot easier to find them. So we did that for a while and ended up running the cleanup program for the Oak Ridge National Lab, which is different because I went down there as a basic scientist. I was doing basic research. Now all of a sudden I'm running cleanup. And we're digging things up, building buildings, doing all sorts of interesting stuff. And the next thing I know, I'm building projects and running big sites for Lockheed Martin. And I ended up with the Department of Energy, which was exciting. I ran one of their biggest sites. And
what is that, Hanford?
Mm-hmm.
Possibility powered by Covenant Health, Home Federal, and the Knoxville News Sentinel.
Now you can listen while you're on the go with Anything is Possible, the podcast.
What is Hanford?
Hanford is one of the original Manhattan Project sites. So everybody's seen the Oppenheimer movie and all now. So back in the 40s, as part of America's making of the atomic bomb, they founded 3 sites, Oak Ridge, Los Alamos, and Hanford. And Hanford had a bunch of reactors along the Columbia River that produced plutonium for the second bomb. Now, all these years later, making all that plutonium for the weapons programs, there's a lot of nasty stuff out there. And I went out there with the goal of, let's clean up this stuff so we can protect the Columbia River and protect the people out there. And there's a tremendous challenge.
Take me into the world of that kind of engineering,
Oh, wow.
because
Okay.
if I were assigned that kind of project, I wouldn't know how to even begin to approach it.
Well, you approach it humbly. It takes a whole family. It takes like a village of scientists and engineers to figure out these problems. How did we get here? What happened? What were the processes that created these materials? What are they and where are they? How do they move? And if we want to extract them or get them in a position where we can treat them, immobilize them, and dispose of them so they're safe, then what do you have to do to do that? And
What did you have to do?
Well, we brought a couple of great companies together, big engineering firms that understood how to build facilities that could immobilize those materials. And that project is still going on and will go on for some time. But some of the near-term things were just dealing with tanks that had so much radioactivity in them, they were boiling. There was so much heat being given off the tanks for boiling, and so we had to dilute those so they wouldn't boil any longer.
So plutonium is what you were dealing with, though.
Oh, yes, some plutonium, but a lot of the byproducts of plutonium production. The way they make plutonium, this is fascinating, is they take uranium and enrich it and run it through a nuclear reactor and actually turn it into plutonium. And as you do that, uranium splitting, and you're creating all sorts of strontium and cesium and cobalt, what they call fission products, and those are the highly radioactive things that give off all this heat.
How do you neutralize those things?
Right. Well, the thing is to keep them from moving. And so there's different ways of using cement type material. And our mission was to get that waste out of those tanks and turn it into glass so it wouldn't go anywhere, because glass lasts about as long as anything. So the idea was to build a big glass plant and turn these materials into glass so they could not move and could not get into the river.
That is fascinating.
And so we were going to build the largest glass plant or radiochemical processing plant in the world. And it just took all sorts of scientists, engineers, folks working together to understand, environmental folks, working with the communities so that the native tribes out there and the local communities, even in a tri-state area, people understood the problem at least as well as we did, understood what we were going to try to do about it, and could be part of it.
How long were you at Hanford?
I was about
that?
6 years.
6 years.
Yeah.
What came after?
Okay, after that I went into industry because I thought, in the government there's changes in administration, and especially if you're in those leadership roles, they decide, well, we need something different. So, okay. So I wasn't looking for a job when I found that one, so off I went on another fork, and I said, I'm going to go work for some big firms like Jacobs and Shaw and run their DOE business, run all their projects with the Department of Energy, DOE, around the country. So I had offices all over the country, and I'd fly around working on projects, hiring people, solving problems, and it was fun. It was fun. It was different. It wasn't quite what I expected it to be. And so in 2007, I was working for Shaw. And at the time, Shaw, they bought part of Westinghouse. Everybody remembers Westinghouse Nuclear. And they said, we're going to change what we do, Harry. So do you want to do job A, or would you like a buyout to go do something else? And again, a fork in the road. I said, well, yeah, I'm going to try something else for a while. So I took a buyout, and I thought I was going to go work for another big engineering firm. And instead, I started consulting. I found people that were interested in things I could help with, like how do I build a strategic plan for this business? How do I learn how to work with government agencies? Or just better on how do I improve the performance of my business? And I started consulting, and I said, hey, I can make a living doing this. I'm making good money, and I don't have to get on a plane every Monday. And I had kids that were in middle school, getting ready for high school. And I said, I can be here. I can be here for every soccer game and every football game. And so in 2007, I bought an old farmhouse on the Clinch River, and Boston Government Services was born. So I was crazy. I had to be out of my mind to think I'm just going to, at 50 or so years old, I'm going to start some business and take all the family money. I put their college money aside, but everything else went in there and rolled the dice, and we're going to grow a business and make a living doing this.
And you did.
It worked out. It worked out. See, that just goes to show it's better to be lucky than good. That's what they say.
I'm amazed at, I don't know another way to frame it other than to call it faith. Because if there's a fork in the road and you take it, you have to believe in adventure, or you have to believe that, okay, let's see where this goes. There's not a sense of dread, but a sense of adventure.
A little of both, some sense of dread, but a sense of, this is an opportunity, and I think I can do this.
Who taught you to be that way, though?
I wish I could tell you. I think I always attribute it to bad judgment, but just that idea that, I trust me, I'm not super confident by any means. I'm not climbing mountains or jumping out of planes or doing things.
How would you explain, your life has been on paper, right? I understand this success is a very subjective thing.
It is, yeah.
But on paper, as the old folks down south would say, you done good.
I've had a lot of fun. I've been lucky. I've had a lot of help. I've had good mentors and friends. But again, you find that you learn as much as you can. You work hard. As I always tell people when they say, how did you get this done or that done? You can't be the fastest or the smartest or the prettiest, but you can outwork them. And if you get focused on what you want to do and work hard and get help from your friends and have some faith, so more often than not, it's worked out well.
Now, take us with you with Anything is Possible, the podcast. Stream new episodes weekly wherever you get your podcasts.
Does success have a code?
I think Some aspects. I mean, there's a lot of position and luck, and some people are just smart, and they have brilliant ideas, and that carries them a long way. But most of us, it's mostly hard work, and it's a matter of thinking about what you're doing, looking around, who else has been successful? What are the rules of engagement? What does it take to be successful in this environment? What am I going to do that's going to separate what we're doing from everybody else that allows us to add value? And for me, some of the code in building an engineering firm started with, I want to have the best people. Because I like to work with smart people. I've worked with really, really smart people. And it's like a lot of folks will tell you, if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. You got to get in another room with us. And I've always felt like that there's brilliant people, and I want to work with them because it's exciting. But together we can come up with solutions. We can solve problems. We can do things to make a difference. And then with good people, we want to work on problems that are important. We want to work on things that are of national significance. So the company was involved with medical isotopes. The company's involved with next generation nuclear reactors, but we're involved with alternative energy, with wind, with solar, hydrogen, electric vehicles. We're involved with cybersecurity so we can protect our assets. And getting to learn about those things is a thrill. We've had ridiculously great opportunities. The Oak Ridge National Laboratory called us years ago and they said, we want to 3D print a nuclear reactor and we want you guys to help. Oh. It's great over cocktails to talk about it, and we did. And what a thrill, though. And that's what it was about, having the kind of people and the focus to be trusted to be involved in those kind of things. We got called by NASA about a year or so ago, and they're not calling Harry. They're calling our top people that they know. And they're saying, well, we're going back to the moon. We're planning on getting back to the moon. And they said, we're going to have a moon base. And I'm loving it. Of course, I grew up in the 60s, so I'm thinking we're 20 years too late. But nonetheless, we're going to have a moon base. And they said, and we're not going to power that moon base with a coal plant. They're going to want a small modular reactor. Can you help us with a small modular reactor for the moon? And I'm like, my guys came in to tell me this because they're all excited. I'm like, oh my word. I said, yeah, we're going to do it. And so we're getting engaged in those kind of things. But again, great people, solve problems, make a difference for clients on things that matter. That's such fun. It is such fun.
Your cover is so blown.
It's fun.
I would not play bid whist with you at all. I'm not doing it because that's amazing.
But I don't do it.
But you're saying as if it's Wednesday. It's just they ask you to help build a nuclear reactor on the moon.
Right. Yeah, I know.
That's
but
not
just Harry, though. They didn't ask Harry. They asked the smart people that work with Boston Government Services to do it. They don't want me anywhere near it.
No, I'm listening at you kind of speed through your story as if it's not that significant. It's amazing.
Well, it goes fast. It's just, you're just 1 foot in front of the other. It's like crossing a river, rock to rock. You just get that next rock before your foot comes down. And that's what it has been like. Just grow the company, build it. Where do we want to go next? Why can't we do that? What's fun?
Why can't we do that? I like that question. I love that question. But I think there's something else that when we were having lunch that really stood out to me is your passion to help small businesses and people see and seize expanded possibility. Where did that come up for you, where you wanted to give back?
Well, I think both my parents were like that. They both grew up during the Depression. They were older. My father was born in 1915 and my mother in 1923.
Wow.
So we always had family in the house, like most people down here particularly. We always had family in the house. It was just part of who we were. And as I've had opportunities, especially as the business has matured and I'm getting to catch a little bit of breath, I'm getting ready for my second act. Giving back and helping is such a big deal. So there's so many things we can do. This region with the National Laboratories and TVA and a great university and all the good people here, there's no reason we can't have a high-tech regional economy like Silicon Valley or Research Triangle Park. And when you do that, it's not just for scientists and PhDs and engineers. Everybody's salary goes up. It rises the level for everybody. Because if you go to those places, they're taking kids that could work in McDonald's And instead, they're training them how to work in a clean room, in a clean lab, or how to do a bioassay. And after 6 months in community college, they can walk into a $60,000, $70,000 a year career because nothing's stopping them from going to get a PhD. But it's a real live job with benefits. And I think we can, if we work together here, and that's all it takes is everybody working together, and say, we can build that here. We had all the right stuff. We can build a regional economy that everybody can participate in. And I love that. So I'm happy to work with small businesses. I work with the Knoxville Entrepreneur Center. I work with Knoxville Area Urban League and with a bunch of other groups. And how can we help folks get ready to take advantage of everything this area has to offer? And I think we need to all come together, get Centro Hispano in there, they're a great group, and get the UT Apex program now together and say, how do we get mom and pops? It's not just the entrepreneurial side. I'm big on the high-tech entrepreneurial side, and we could talk about that, Market Square Ventures and all sorts of good things. But the mom and pops that are trying to get over the hump and start a business, and you ask them, well, do you have a checking account? Well, no. And where's your bookkeeping system? Well, I got these shoe boxes. We can help with that. We can help with that and get them where they're getting ready to, where they can get a loan. Because there are programs that'll loan money to small business and where they can get some mentoring, like 100 Knoxville. I bet you've talked to folks from 100 Knoxville down at Knoxville Entrepreneur Center. And there are things like that we can do. The guys at Seed, oh my word, Stan and JD at Seed program, introducing kids to the whole green economy, building energy efficient housing. I'm sorry, I'm talking too much.
No.
But I love this stuff. I love this stuff.
I'm sitting here thinking about how I would tag this. Mm-hmm. This is how I tag. I'm Harry Boston and I approve this.
No, I'm having the time of my life.
No.
No.
You know what, Harry, I got to tell you this. I really am inspired by you and your optimism.
Oh, yeah, I'm optimistic. Yeah,
and your forward motion. Mm-hmm. The fact that when you see a fork in the road, you take it, mm-hmm. and the way your life has unfolded and evolved, I think it's really inspiring, and it's proof that anything is possible. Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you so much.